43.
42. 41.
40.
39.
Number 1.
39.
38.
37.
36.
35.
34.
33. 32.
31.
30. 29.
28.
27.
26.
25.
24.
23.
21.
20.
19.
18.
17. 16.
15.
14.
13.
12.
11.
10. 9. 8.
7.
6.
5.
4.
3.5.
3.
2.
1.
Hey, Rocky, you want to see me pull a show out of my hat? Nothing up my sleeve. Presto! Hi, and welcome to the Mouthwash Talk Show, a minty fresh take on life. And boy, it's been a struggle. It's been a struggle. If you were trying to watch witty reviews tonight, for some reason, StreamYard is getting worse instead of better. Total technical breakdown. I had to move the studio this week from Florida, blah, blah, blah. You don't want to hear my excuses. Cry me a river. Here's a tissue. So here we are. We're here. This one's working. So trying to upload a video, not so much. But we have a great guest tonight on the show. We have a great guest. This is a guy that I met down at the State House when I was officially had a press pass, and we sort of slugged it out arms and elbows down there at the redistricting at the State House last year. And this was this guy here. First time I started talking to him, man, we were like kindred spirits. We were both first time there. We sort of helped each other feel our way around, and he's just a great guy. But before we get to that, we got to do some stuff. So it looks like we got everybody backstage except for Lucy. Lucy will be coming in here probably just in the nick of time, like she does. You know, if you have 10 kids, you learn how timing works, or maybe how it doesn't work. Anyway, that's how you have 10 kids. But I got, since I was in Florida, yeah, we're back in Indy. I didn't take my eyebrow trimmer with me, so I'm developing these really good eyebrows here. In fact, my grandkids put clips on them and made fun of me quite, a lot. So, hey, this is what we're going to do tonight in the chat. If you want to see me keep the eyebrows growing, put in there, keep the eyebrows. If you want to see me trim the eyebrows, then trim them. Now, Lisa's going to be in the chat, and she's going to say, trim the eyebrows. She wants them trimmed. But I'm like, wow, it makes me look wiser, like an owl, like a Hoosier. So I don't know, but it just keeps the sun out. But it's going to get interesting and get much longer because, here we go. There's your first vote. So see if you can ratio Lisa to on the eyebrow comments. So anyway, speaking of ratio, if you pay any attention to the X, or the old, formerly known as Twitter, with the gossip queen of Indianapolis got ratioed pretty bad by the Indy reporter, Steve Whitmer, when he was making fun of other people and their followers. Imagine that, somebody making fun of somebody else in Indiana. I think a little jealousy's coming in on that. And he bragging about how many followers, and they couldn't even get 10 people to like his comment, whereas Indy reporter had hundreds of people like the comment. So I think there's a changing of the guard. I think Indy's tired of the same old establishment reporting, the same old establishment GOP. Of course, Indianapolis is Democrat, and the Democrats. So let's start out with let's see, Jim Merritt started out. We had Cindy Kirkhofer. We had Bryce Carpenter. Oh, who could forget? Joe Elsner. He was a gem. And then they elected Natalie Goodwin for the GOP chairman. Of course, I ran a couple times in that, but those folks were better. But where are they now? Natalie Goodwin is MIA. Joe Elsner took the money and ran. They've basically decimated the Indy Republicans. They're just nowhere to be found. I find it comical. I've had one of the township chairs call me. I'm not going to say who because they're friendly. asked me if I knew anybody that would help out in their township. And after I got done laughing, I thought to myself, that's really interesting. Now, I'm not good enough to be chair, but they want me to ask my people if they want to help. The people that I know that were involved in the party, they wanted to see a change. They wanted to see some work being done. They're not going to help. They're not going to help. In fact, my prediction for the party here in Marion County, except for maybe the south side of Indy, you're going to be lucky to get 25% of the vote the next election. So there you go. That's my prediction on that. But I was going to come on and say, because people are identifying as different things. I was going to be identifying as a woman scorned. And would you say, well, are you bitter? You're darn right I'm bitter. I'm not going to even try to hide it. I just think it's awful. Our city's falling apart. Of course, I have a house in Florida now, so I'm not captive here. I do not have to stay here like some folks do because they can't move out of this place. So anyway, we have a lot of work to do here in the city, and God bless you if you're going to try to do it, but I'm not the guy. So tonight, anyway, on to our guests. Enough of this ranting and raving. I'm starting to sound like Rob Kendall. Maybe I would identify as Rob Kendall complaining about the government. And I think we're going to have him on as a guest at some time. He's got his show going on YouTube. He's trying to make a way for himself. And I have to ask the question, does anybody listen to WIBC anymore? I think Hammer and Nigel's the only show worth listening to on there. So anyway, that's enough. That's enough of that. You have to get a tissue out and cry me a river. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and bring on our guest, Andy Peter. He goes by Andy Chambers. He writes for the Montgomery County Press. I think that's what it's called. It's a local newspaper. Great guy. I want to get him on our show before he gets discovered by some, CNN or Fox News or whoever, and they want to have him do some photography and reporting for him because I think he's that good. He just I see him nodding his head, so I'm gonna bring him on here.
Hi, John. Can you hear me?
Oh yeah, you're good. You're good to go, man. Good to see you again, man. We had such a good time down at the State House, didn't we?
We did. As you'd mentioned before about going, arm in arm in the struggle in the Senate. I just remembered that last day there was not a place to sit. One of my friends asked me, how did it feel to be in there when history was being made? You took that amazing photo of the lieutenant governor that just went viral all over Reddit, and it was actually picked up by another news outlet. How'd that feel? I tell people, it's like, man, my back hurt.
It was
I wasn't really thinking about history. I wasn't thinking about history, man. My back hurt.
Yeah,
no,
it was.
No, sweaty was when I was covering the State of the State address.
Oh, okay. Well, unfortunately, I was not here.
Well, they brought in the artificial lighting, and I joked with it was the house photographer, John, that evening we got our tans back. So we had just about as good a tans as if we had been down there in Florida with you. But I'm telling you what, man, I've been keeping track of your Florida adventures, and man, I'm really happy for you. You look happy. It looks like you just basically have a second wind on life, and just try to think of us up here every so often.
I will. I mean, and that's why I think that I said I'm bitter about things because I got in politics to try to make things better, and we moved into Mars Hill here to make things better, and we did those things. So we have receipts for improving things, and yet the party that you're supposed to be in despises you. They're famous, discourage, and destroy. It worked. I mean, they basically beat the life out of me in trying to do this. So, but we're going to move on, and hopefully there'll be another John Schmitz come along that knows how to do it a little better and get involved and make a difference. But this John Schmitz really enjoyed Florida. It was nice.
You've left nothing to guess, and especially when every photo of you have the 10,000 watt smile. By the way, just so you know, since being a reporter, I have to be impartial, but I think that people will forgive me for this one, which is that in terms of the opinion, man, go keep the eyebrows. Keep the eyebrows. Man, my wife actually cuts my hair, and she does an amazing job because her sister is is cosmetologist, I think it's called. But she actually offered to cut my eyebrows the other day because they had just gotten that long. So I'm just saying, man, middle-aged men represent.
Let's see. I don't know if you remember Andy Rooney on on 60 Minutes at the end. Well, folks, I need to work on my Andy Rooney thing and, complain. And I'm actually getting there. I'm getting to be a grumpy old 65-year-old, and I'm getting really good at complaining. I hate it, but I'm really good at it, it seems. So
funny thing you mentioned that. I wish I hadn't taken that box over across the into the archives. I'm actually at the Ernie Pyle Museum where I work as an archivist. So my job actually as a reporter is almost a secondary job to what I'm doing as an archivist for a World War II museum. And we actually have not copies, but we have original Andy Rooney signatures. At least I found about 3 or 4 of them. And when this museum was dedicated in 1995, he was present at the dedication.
That is cool. I didn't know that there was any correlation between here and there. So that's interesting. And just getting to know you a little bit and the different stories you have. I got a couple things queued up. I got the Tiananmen Square. I definitely want to talk about that. And then I was able to pull up the Afghanistan opioid or poppy thing here. I got a clip on that. But I'm going to go ahead and bring on the panel. I'm going to get to it because I know we could spend at least 3 hours with you, but I
think we did that one time.
Yeah, we did.
It was the time. It was when Gaskell was taking testimony the first day that the bill had landed in the Senate. I think we were actually speaking for 3 hours.
Yeah, the whole thing is just surreal. And I still have my press pass till August. But I've been on Braun about, hey, those things are magic. I still want to go in that room 101. Remember when we were down there eating in the little cantina and we're like, we want to go in that room. So I went over and waved the badge and the door open.
Next, when I'm down there, I'm actually, I'm interviewing Lieutenant Governor Beckwith on Thursday. So just message me and remind me to go into room 101 to see what happened.
Yeah, see what's in there. But I mean, with not people there, it's like everybody's sort of vacant. Well, I've put in 2 written requests to Braun's office and not even gotten so much as get stuff back. So I may not be able to get a press pass next time due to the fact that I am being a little harsh with our governor because I just don't think all their stuff's lining up. So right now you got you voting, don't trim, Lisa voting trim. I don't see any other comments in there. So looks like it might be a tie if somebody does that. So I'm going to go ahead and bring on, I'm going to go ahead and bring Brad on. I think Tiffany's still trying to get together because what's happening. So
hey, Brad. Pleasure to meet you as well.
Brad's got his Mario Brothers outfit on tonight.
No, this is just my usual Tuesday outfit. It's not a Mario outfit at all.
I think it is. So actually, I do have some sound effects here, so we could, do that. Let's hear it for Brad's outfit.
Wait, Andy.
Yes, Brad.
Did when you mentioned Senator Gaskell and his testimony or his hearings and stuff, did he the name of Charlie Kirk and say everybody needed to vote based on that and the tragedy that Donald Trump has underfell to? Is that what he basically said?
I don't recall. If he did, I wouldn't have recalled it. I do recall Senator believe there was a reference there. I think it was I believe it was Chris Garden, Senator Chris Garden, the Santa Claus, the guy who beat up Santa Claus at Christmas time.
Those were some solid memes, and I always love when people have sense of humors, and then they don't.
I will say one thing though, John and Brad, about Gaskell. He and I, not Gaskell, about Senator Garden. He and I did have a fun moment before the state address because I confronted him about those, and I said, "Look, man," I said, "you got to realize that I'm from Philadelphia, and there was a year that we Eagles fans actually did beat up Santa Claus, but we didn't realize.
Famously, yes,
we didn't need AI." So if you're going to try to impress someone like me, you're going to have to shoot for the stars next time you try to do something like that, man. And he had just a rip roaring laugh. It was a good joke, but he said, "Yeah, I remember that now." So that was the one exchange I had regarding the infamous Santa Claus incident.
Oh yeah, I could totally see that.
So wait a second, Brad. You said that wasn't your Mario outfit, and then you hold up the Mario glove. You're killing me, Smalls. Killing me.
What are you talking about? These are just my normal.
It's your normal Tuesday
Yeah.
night gamer. This is not a gamer show, but hey, that's how old I am. That was the last game I played was Mario Brothers. I actually made it to the secret castle or whatever you had to make it to.
Oh, I love playing the games with my kids now are hilarious because like I don't let them win ever, and so it's just funny. Like, and my big brother did that to me. Like I didn't really have anybody to like bully in gaming. So now I have sons for that entire reason.
that is pretty good. Mama, don't let your cowboys grow up to be gamers.
Yeah.
So hey, Brad, this is sort of cool. We have someone on here he's like a world traveler. Now, Andy, have you been to actually Iran and Persia, or were you planning on going and then it got sort of sidetracked?
Okay, so rewinding a little bit on that question, it's a good question. What it was that I was adopted by American missionaries when I was in Taiwan. So I was adopted about the age of 2. They did the right thing, by the way. They came over. They got me naturalized, most Ricky Tick. And one thing I will note, and it's gotten me out of a few things. I wouldn't even say lately, but it's gotten me out of a few things. Mom was originally from Kalamazoo. Dad was from Philadelphia. And one thing that they were really big about was making sure that their son spoke perfect English. In fact, English isn't even my first language. It's Mandarin.
That is tough.
Wouldn't think that when they listen to me talk, but it's actually not my first language. But we moved around a lot growing up, so spent some time, Philippines. Mom and Dad actually, even as American missionaries, met in Haiti, and then they got married in the 70s. But we lived there for a time in a place, some time in the Philippines, and some other places, which as missionaries we have to call them creative access, but we'll just say that it was Central Asia.
Central Asia. So somehow I got it in my mind that you had something about Tiananmen Square. But you were born in Taiwan, so that was in China in 1989. That was an issue.
Family had the fleet. We were there at that time.
Okay. So I got that right.
Yeah, and as I told you, had mentioned earlier, believe it or not, it's true that the people that are the closest to something oftentimes are the ones that know the least. And so, I mean, it wasn't until, occasionally I'll learn something just by watching a documentary, even though we were only just a few blocks away, because what had happened was that the reason, if things had been, if the Chinese government had wanted to have done it the way they would have wanted to have done it, that rebellion probably would have been crushed very quickly, within maybe 2 days.
Really?
Hours now. You can't even go. Every time you go into Tiananmen Square now, there are about 15 or 16 cameras that are just on you. Especially if you are, as they say in Mandarin, if you are Waiguoren, which is if you're a foreigner, they've got every security camera and probably satellites on you when you walk onto that square now, just because of how sensitive the topic was. But they probably could have done it in a few days, but what had happened was that there's that term that you don't, to put it a little bit more nicely, you don't defecate in your own backyard. And the only military units that had actually been there were local units. And so, you're going to do something that's going to destroy people. Probably you don't want to do it to your neighbor. So they were actually had to spend a few days switching units out, brought in units from like northern along the Mongolian border. And then that's when they made the final push to take down the whole crackdown. But at the same time, the reason why you wouldn't do anything is because technically anybody that was nearby or even in Beijing at the time was under house arrest. You so much as look over the window or peek over the balcony, someone's going to take a shot at you.
That's such a crazy thing to imagine. We have no frame of reference, I feel like.
We've had incidences. There was an incident. The most recent gun battle that I was in like 2004, and that was when when Aristide was overthrown in Haiti. And really, there are days you just gonna say, you know what? I'm just gonna kick back my recliner, make sure that my head doesn't go above the window, and just take a good nap. Or if the electricity is still on, which it was at the time, play Super Mario.
Yeah, that's right. So I'm going to
Damn
go
right,
ahead.
yeah.
I'm going to go ahead and play this clip, and I see Lucy's in the back here. We're going to bring her on, but
Hi,
let me
Lucy.
get this clip going here. This is going to rewind to 1989. We got Dan Rather. So let's bring that on here, and let's see. Let's play it. Okay, hold on. It's just yeah, it's just the fun times here we're having here.
No one knows how many people have died in the crackdown. We may never know. Our own CBS News review of hospital figures indicates that at least 300 have died. The figure may be as high as 3,000 or more. Many were civilians who went into the street unarmed to challenge the military and were mowed down by machine gun fire or run over by tanks. But amazingly, people were still defying the army today. Richard Roth has one story.
It was noontime today in the center of Beijing when a man walked to the middle of the Avenue of Eternal Peace, which, as it happened, was already occupied. He walked to the middle and stood there. The man was alone. The tank was not. It wasn't just a single tank he stopped. There were 18 tanks and armored carriers in this convoy, and while he talked to the crew and ignored the gunfire, he stopped all of them. One man alone.
Like, imagine if we didn't see this.
Except for a moment, that's exactly what happened.
Way before iPhones.
For 3 minutes in the middle of the day, an army was stopped by a man who stood still. A man who'd made up his mind, it seems, though why we just don't know. But when bystanders rushed in to save this stubborn soul, it wasn't easily done. He was pushed away at last, faceless in the crowd. Safe, we think, but in a city verging on calamity. What moves a man to just stand still? Is it courage or outrage or madness? We can't tell what was on his mind, and we can't forget what he did.
I think it can be.
All right. Hold on a second.
Sorry about that.
I love this. Ooh, I tell you, StreamYard's a joy. Hey, Lucy, how you doing? Tiffany's back there, but she must have a phone call. You know, she's running for Senate, Andy. We have a lot of famous people on this show. With this. Somehow, you know, Brad's got his own show now that's going to probably eclipse some Mouthwash.
Hi,
Lucy's
Lucy.
down there sending, growing herbs and spices and urbanics and
taking down her
urbanics.
local government. Yeah.
Yeah, and then just driving them crazy. So you're in good company tonight. You're in good company, Andy, with things.
I'm honored to be. I'm honored to be here.
Andy, do you have a favorite photo that you've taken? Just out of curiosity, I have questions that I wanted to ask, just from a photojournalist kind of standpoint.
Yes, I do. John, I don't have access to Facebook right now, but I probably would say that if there are actually two photos that I would say are probably the best work I've ever done. John has seen them. I wish I'd known about the question. I would have sent them over to John. But the first photo was actually of a right after they had announced the Pope, and being that I was Catholic, but now I'm Eastern Orthodox. But at the time, when they announced the Pope, I realized, like, wait a minute, he's only about 2 hours. I could get a scoop on this one. Get into my car, absolutely book it up to Chicago. I think I did 90 all the way up on US 41 and somehow didn't get stopped. And by the time I made it there, first I stopped at the house, but then I walked over to the church. When I was at the church, one of the guy who owned the church, because the church is closed down, it's an abandoned building now, he let about 5 of us journalists into the building. And when we were going in, there was a gentleman who was experiencing homelessness. I know this now because I spoke to him about that when I was getting the story behind the photo. He walked in and he was looking through the stained glass windows, and the look of awe on his face, I got the shot. And it was that was one of my favorite shots. But the second one, which is probably, if you're going to say, what is your most important photo you ever took? It was March the 22nd last year, and I had been asked by Martin Luther King Jr., the third's chief of staff, she got in touch with me because I knew somebody who she knew know somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody. But they had asked me to come up and photograph some of MLK Jr. the Third's. I'll just call him MJ3. MJ3's he did the last stage of the march, which was a 4-mile stage from a Catholic hostel to the Alabama State House, just like his dad did 60 years earlier. And so I was asked to come along and actually photograph during that day. There was a photo that I took, and it was a specific photo that just said it all. He has his back to me. I'm directly behind him, shooting. I don't want to say shooting, photographing, taking the photo, and next to him is Gina Belfonte, who's Harry Belfonte's daughter. And on the other side of him is a woman by the name of Cheyenne Webb Chrisman. She was only 6 years old and somehow survived Bloody Sunday. And the story is she eventually ended up completing the march with Martin Luther King Jr. And he actually babysat her for an hour until her parents came from Selma to pick her up. So that's kind of in the foreground, but in front of me. In the background of the photo is the Alabama State Capitol. And what makes it so poignant was that was the same building that George Wallace had given the segregation now, segregation forever speech, as well as Jefferson Davis had given his inaugural address. We were walking on the road that was the parade route for that inauguration parade. And that day, they had also received there were a few bomb death threats, whatever have you. And they had given everybody, like, there were bulletproof vehicles that were in front of us that we were just told if something happens, just dive in. So John can show you that picture, but those are probably the two best pieces I've ever taken.
Oh, that's wonderful, Andy. Yeah.
So
I love history so much because of that. Like, that's nuts. You can tie everything in to what came before, you know.
Well, I'm a trained historian. I'm not a journalist. I've only been doing this for a year, believe it or not. Now I took to it like a fish in water, but one of the things my philosophy behind journalism, because good news is, not being a trained journalist, I don't have bad habits to break. I'm writing for 80 years from now. I am an archivist here at this museum, but I'm also an archivist at a Holocaust museum in Terre Haute, Indiana. Come visit us, by the way. The thing about it was that so much of what I learned about those times, even about the Holocaust, came from the photos. We learned a lot about D-Day, from Robert Capa's photos, the Magnificent 11. And so I don't believe in sensationalizing reporting. I think it's low-hanging fruit. I think it is, and I think it's doing a lot of damage to the industry of journalism when people are trying to sensationalize to get the quick buck. I understand that journalism is kind of going through a rough spot right now, but I think it's only just working in a more degenerative circle as things are going, because people are trying to sensationalize. The general public is not stupid. So I think, I'm writing for an audience that's going to be 80 years from now. I will give them the facts and let them draw their own conclusions. But I have faith. I have faith in people that they'll do their very best with what I've given them.
Yeah. So, Lucy just joined us. I want you to get in here. We were talking about Iran, and you had been scheduled possibly to be a missionary to Iran. And one of the comments that caught my eye or ear was that you said that it was, the West calls it Iran, but most the Iranian people, or the Persians, they're basically, it's Persia. So tell our audience, who named Iran, and why did they, what's the story behind that? I was quite fascinated when you told me that story. So go ahead.
So that actually, you stumbled on two separate subjects in the same question. I had actually trained to be a missionary, had wanted to there, but in my studies as a missionary, I studied and learned patristic scholars, and then that led to me becoming Catholic, and yada yada yada. If for some odd reason an opportunity ever opens up to work in one of the aid groups, or even to cover them, even if it's Crescent Cross, and to go up, especially to northern Iran, northern Iraq area, which is Kurdistan, not a recognized region, I'd be on the plane in a heartbeat. I'm not even going to lie. My
I'll
heart
go
has
with you. I'll go with you. I'll be like your bodyguard or whatever. You can be my
my heart
bodyguard.
has never left the region, and I worked for 5 years helping resettle people at my local church, which was College Park, which was off of like 96th and College Avenue. They did a lot of work. Debbie still does a lot there. Debbie Alexander, amazing woman. If you ever get to meet her, she has about as much energy as Super Mario taking the star. Wonderful person. That being
Nice.
said, you asked about the Iran question. So it had been known as Persia or Par, Farsi, Par, Par, Far, depending on which version you're going after, for most of history. It just was. Now, the back in the 1930s, there was this resurgence of, let's think about the Third Reich. I think January 1933, Hitler comes to power. He's wanting to establish the Aryans as the dominant race. So what do? You want to go, anytime you want to establish any form of social credibility or dominance, start working on history. Start working on a lot of history. And that's why history is so important. It's important we get it right. It's important we get our times right. Himmler had a lot of money. Don't ask me how they got that money, especially since they were paying war debts at the time. But they sent a lot of archaeologists and a lot of groups over to different regions to try to trace back, the origins of the Aryan race. And at the time, if there's a good book called Empires of the Word, and it kind of alludes to this, where they're tracing back the origins of the German language to this country, to Greece, to Italy, to Greece. Then it goes all the way to Iran, which is kind of the origin of most modern English language. What we would term Romance languages has a very, very loose origin in the Iranian language, which was Farsi. During the time that he was doing a lot of the research, they started to call the country Iran, which Iran, take it as you like. But the term Iran has only been around since 1935, and it's predominantly Western. People will still refer to it as Persia. I know that even it's become vogue now. I think even I saw a press conference today with Pete Hegseth. He does refer to it as Persia, but that is
You
kind
might
of
have been just quoting the Bible though at that point.
Don't get him started, Andy. Don't get him started on Pete in his preaching it.
Sorry.
Yeah. But it's one thing at a time. I want to get Lucy in here, but I'm going to start calling it Persia from now on. We're bringing Melissa MAPA or whatever. Make Persia great again or whatever. Brad loved that.
Put it on a hat. You could wear it to a dignified.
I don't know. So Lucy, what are you hearing here? I know I saw your eyes perk up when Andy talked about the book, about reading a book. So I know that anytime somebody reads a book, Lucy gets excited.
I do. I have that book hoarding disease. In fact, I've got my screen over here. So I was like, is it Empires of the Word by Nicholas Ostler, or is it Empires of the World?
Empires of the Word.
It is of the Word. Okay, got it. So I've got it on Thrift Books ready to order. It's like $6. That way you can avoid giving Amazon money. But shout out to Better World Books. I don't want to give Amazon money.
I'm just kidding. I just wanted to see if I would get
if you're going to trigger me
Hold
or
on,
something.
I got to get to the sound effects for this part of the show. So we have some new sound effects. So, yeah.
Make Persia great again.
Okay, so that's
Mappa.
We need a vowel somewhere in there. Like,
I don't know.
Anyway, Andy, it is a tremendous pleasure and honor to meet you. I love the fact that you weren't trained as a journalist because you said you didn't have to get any bad habits. I'm curious. I just went ahead and sent a friend request to you, and so I'm curious if you have, like another page or place where you're assembling your audience. Because do you have Patreon? How do people support you so that you can ditch Indiana and go someplace cool?
I keep him here. Damn it!
Believe it or not, I'll tell you what. It's interesting you mentioned that. Because well, that's two questions right there. By the way, I'm sorry. I have this really bizarre habit of just interrupting people randomly.
We're ADD as shit here.
Well,
Don't worry.
you're going to have to do that to get a word in on this show. So
We're going to go ahead
ahead.
and interrupt. I'm going to interrupt whoever's interrupting you.
So a few things on that one real quickly. I can't accept the friend request just yet because I'm actually doing this interview from my cell phone.
Mhm.
If you go on to just type in on Facebook, Feral Historian.
Oh, I love that.
There's a photo of me. It's not hard. And actually, ironically, it's a photo of me showing Governor Braun some documents at the museum.
I love that.
So you say that's feral,
You know,
like feral cat?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Andy,
feral
I don't
cat.
know, what history you know about Indiana, but when I ran against Joe Donnelly and Governor Braun, well, now Governor Braun, wannabe Senator Braun back in 2018, I kicked his ass. I mopped the floor with both of those gentlemen, and I'm not being egotistical or anything. It's just that I didn't have any fraud to exchange or to sell. And so I was able to just, speak openly and freely about the problems that our state and country have.
Well, ironically, it's weird because sometimes people speak truth, but you've got to be open to whoever speaks truth. And one of the people that you would not have expected to make the comment you did was a recent interview that Lieutenant Governor Micah Beckwith did with former AG Curtis Hill. And he had commented that, we're talking about the swamp in DC, but you got to remember that there's swamp here in Indiana too.
Yes.
And what I found is interesting is that let's put a few thoughts on that one. I actually like it here, and let me tell you the reason why. If you look at Google, just Google Maps. I love the gloves, man. I didn't even recognize.
I know the Mario gloves just got me.
Well, wait till we get to conspirity theory.
Oh,
Google
the cosplay.
for Dana, Indiana, and you will find that I'm out in the middle of nowhere. And let's put it to you this way: I lived on the East Coast for a while and did a little bit of work in Washington, D.C. as well. What I have learned is this. If something like if you go to those places, even Indianapolis as well, there is such a smorgasbord and an assault to the senses of information and ideas and concepts that it can overwhelm you. But if it makes it out here, it probably was legit.
That's
I always said that the East Coast is 2 weeks ahead of us. Especially when I was a kid, we listened to music. Something that would be hot out in Boston, we'd get it like 2 or 3 weeks later. Now, of course, I was born in the Stone Age, back when we had, FM radio was all we had. But, you are correct. If it does make it to the Midwest, it's actually, been tested a little bit. So I did, real quick, I put there at the bottom is your Facebook profile for the Feral Historian. And I also put in your, the Madison, Madison Journal? What's the name of your paper?
Oh, a paper in Montgomery County. It's
Montgomery County.
That's an old school newspaper. It's like, it's the one where that 15-year-old kid, getting his first job is going to assault you every morning and assault your front door by throwing it. Normally it will land in the rose bush or something like that, and then it will be a rainy day and everything will be soggy. But I still believe that there is, my belief and my hope is I think there will be a resurgence of print media, primarily newspapers. I think for a multitude of reasons. Number one, I think people are still going to want to have that tactile interaction with their news. They're going to want to have complete control over what they're receiving because, I think people would be amazed at how little control they actually have over the information that is sent their direction. And I think that's what people are going to burn out.
My algorithm is pretty awesome, though. I'm enjoying it.
Yeah, we sort of build our own.
No, I'm kidding. Like,
igloo.
I totally get what you're saying. Like, it's. I actually started subscribing to online newspapers and stuff because I'm like, I want to be in a society where we do actually pay for the press. Like you pay for what you get on a lot of things. And if there is no, I understand like the concept of, oh, well, I'm not beholden to anybody so I can print what I want. That's one thing. But if you're just accepting friggin' anything that you read off the internet as face value and then moving on with your day, thinking that's the truth, like that is a problem. And I think that's where we're at.
Yeah. Well, John, I mean, how many times have you been in, I mean, even though this, You could have fooled me, by the way, when you said that was your first time in the state capitol covering something. How many times were we in situations where we were there when the news was being made, went home that night, saw how it was reported, and thought to yourself, like, what alternate dimension were we in? This is nothing like what I saw.
No, it's surreal at times, especially when we're in that pit. You know, I'm 6'3" and I got 7-foot arms. So I was able to put my phone right up in Rod Bray's face or whatever. And that poor little guy, the little troll from Adam, whatever. I'd let him have a break like you wouldn't believe. I let him get right under me and I held him under my wing while he could do his reporting. And then he friggin' dogs me later. So
you should put him on your shoulders next time. Like,
yeah,
you guys should do like,
put
him up there, just
like a little parrot. But it was wild. I mean, we were sitting there right as it was happening, and you see the other people that are trying to get the same story and the spin that they're putting on it and everything else. It just was, honestly, it made me not want to be there as a senator, because I had ambitions of possibly running for the Senate. And after that, I'm like, no, I don't need that.
But taking the photos is, I think, totally different than trying to manufacture a story behind it. I mean, a lot of the times you can sell a story going on the photo, and people can kind of interpret it how they want. But there's a lack of bias, I think, on a lot of it.
Yeah, well, I mean, and Andy does. I mean, he's just such a good photographer, and anymore with the digital age and AI and all that. I mean, you can see the heart and soul in his pictures. And I love the black and whites. And I posted his Facebook page in there. You can go through his photos and all the things that he does. And I would encourage you to go out and check out his museum. And I really appreciate the old school, just care that's being taken with our artifacts, because, really, if you think about your own family, you only really go back to your grandma and your great grandma. You might remember that person, but beyond that, and then your kids are only going to remember you a couple generations away. So we have to rely on history to paint these pictures. And I got to tell you, I think that some of these folks that were in our history, they've been painted a lot better than they should have been. And some have been painted with an awful brush. So, I think Andy was correct on that.
There's a reason why I won't teach in Indiana. I've actually seen the Indiana standards, especially for social studies and history. And, if you have a second, let me give you an example.
It's restrictive, isn't it?
Well, it's downright propagandist. Let me give you an example. Most people don't realize that I think it was 1922, certain gentleman went down to Alabama and proclaimed, heaven forbid he would say this, if the black man can vote and he is competent, let him vote. If a white man can vote but he's not competent, he shouldn't be allowed to vote. Oh, that was Warren G. Harding. Most people don't know. He was
president.
Yeah, and most people don't know that Harding was the one that commuted a lot of the sentences of political prisoners because they had spoken out against Woodrow Wilson. Well, here's the thing. The current educational standards in the state of Indiana do not cover the good that Harding did. But
he's a scoundrel, I was taught.
When it goes to Woodrow Wilson, they'll say, the state standard, look it up, please. We'll say, okay, name his 14-point plan for Europe. And just stop it right there. The 14-point plan is great. It made sense. I think it was very much, I think in fantasy land, could something like that have worked, but it was a good idea. But that was what had happened. They didn't talk about how Woodrow Wilson created what we now know as the modern IRS, that he reintegrated, that he resegregated the federal government, and that he is single-handedly, in my opinion, responsible for the second wave of the Ku Klux Klan by allowing the movie Birth of a Nation, which, by the way, not Griffin, I forget the name of it. The author of The Klansman, which that is based off of, was Wilson's roommate in college.
Now, was he was around the Depression era too?
Wilson,
the
though,
Great Depression?
That was 1914, because he actually ended up dying in office, he actually had a stroke, and his wife took over a lot of his responsibilities. And again, if the press was as intense and there were as many reporters and cameras and everything, that would not have been able to have gotten away with it all. I mean, like
The
his
biggest-
wife was running stuff.
The biggest
Just-
problem with Woodrow Wilson's presidency, and I didn't know about the stroke. That really fills in some information for me.
Yes.
Was Colonel Edwin House. That's who was really running.
Hmm.
By the way, just so everybody knows right off the bat, the news media got it
At the same
wrong.
time. Is
They had
because yeah.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead,
Oh, if
Lucy.
you're
cut
gonna
out a
print,
little
if you're
bit,
gonna
yeah.
if you're gonna print money out of thin air, one way to hide how much money you're printing is to pull 30 to 40% of it back out of the system. And so that's the entire mission of the IRS is to take as much as they can from us to mask the inflation.
What do you think about taxation?
Yeah,
I
what
think
is
it's
it, Lucy?
theft. It's theft. Taxation is theft.
It's not a show. Until
That
we
was a
have
little
tax.
heavy-handed, I thought, but that's
That was
we got there.
very well done, Brad. Very well done
Yeah.
on that. So I have to give you this.
Yeah, he had a stroke, and I think that a lot of the residual from the stroke was that we created the 25th Amendment. One thing to note real quickly is that the media, the press 2AT, got it wrong. Wilson did not attend Warren G. Harding's inauguration. So when the current POTUS did not attend 46's inauguration, the press to a T said that the last person to not attend the inauguration is Andrew Johnson. Wrong. All that Wilson did was he basically rode up with Harding to the Capitol. Harding got out. Wilson just turned right back around and went to his townhouse near Georgetown. But he would be the last president to not attend his successor's inauguration. No, even Kennedy attended his successor's inauguration.
Dude, I would be out of there though. I kind of get it. I don't want to hear another speech or listen to stuff. I'm done with the job. I can go home.
Yeah, that I would tell you that would be. I mean, you could hear it in Trump's voice. His voice is getting weaker. That this is beating him down. And if you look at past presidents, they start out with the regular hair and they turn out gray hair when they get done. I mean, you could just see how much it ages somebody. And that's
He is just not giving a shit anymore on
a
lot of stuff.
No, John, you're right. It's like listening to Trump talk. He doesn't have his voice is not as strong.
I'm telling you, he's
wait until he runs for the third term. Okay,
no, he's not going to run. Brad,
and
come on.
and then he'll get.
I don't know
Boo
why.
me all you want, John. Like
Boo. Eat a glove, Brad. Eat a glove. So,
Why do I-
Andy, you were saying that you're the archivist at the Candles Museum.
Yes.
I'm on the board.
Oh.
Oh, wow. It's a small world
well,
unless you
hey,
got to
if you
paint
don't-
it.
I'll tell you what, if you don't remember who I am, then they did the right thing, because I told them just because of what I'm doing, just bury me underneath everything. So you know Megan Wallace then and Amy Groves.
I do. So,
They are. I was supposed to meet Amy on Thursday, but I have another meeting. But Troy and I are actually very good friends.
well,
So
tell Troy that I said
Andy,
I'm on the Building and Grounds Committee.
Oh, wonderful! That's cool.
Hey, Tiffany.
It's a small world.
Yeah,
Tiffany, my friend, there's an opportunity maybe for some nepotism here because I sell edible, medicinal, and culinary plants. What do you need done in the landscape? So that's what I do, Andy. So when people are talking about, like gray hair, I immediately think of He Sha Wu because of traditional Chinese medicine.
that would be
So-
great. Like we have a whole garden full of medicinal.
you just never know what you're going to
Yes, we
find on
do,
the
Tiffany.
mouthwash shelf. So Andy, now your name for the paper is Andy Chambers. Is that right?
Chandler.
Andy Chandler, and you're Andy Peter here. And I know your real name, but I can't pronounce it for one. So what made you pick these pseudonym? Is that the right word, Lucy? Pseudonym for the name, or is it? Did I get that?
Well, Peter's the middle name. Peter's the middle name, but it was one of those things where I just wasn't in the mood to get doxxed by everybody who didn't agree with me.
Why not?
So I just
That's smart.
Brad does very
That is
well
smart.
at it.
but at the same time, so my other Facebook page, Chandler. Trust me, I am much less abrasive on that page. That's the one I
You're
filter like.
abrasive at all. I don't know where you're coming up with the abrasive stuff. I was like, I tell the story about when I met you. It's like, I think the first couple days we didn't really speak. I mean, we didn't. At least I know the first day.
Andy, I've been yelled at by guests before. You know. You're very pleasant and agreeable. So
And Tiffany makes fun of you right in front of your face on the show. So, hey.
I got to put up with a lot of stuff,
I believe that probably 95% of the problems in this country can be resolved over face-to-face and a cup of coffee.
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
I agree. And yet we don't do it. And, I want to bring up one more thing here. We're getting close to the end here. Well, this will be the last subject here. Bill Maher, and he does, he's done shows for 30 plus years now. And I've been a fan and not been a fan, been a fan, not been a fan. But he hits exactly on that point with, he went to have dinner with Trump because, he was saying all this stuff about Trump and he went to have dinner with him and it sort of changed his opinion. And I recently talked to you and I believe we talked about Micah Beckwith. And I think your opinion after sitting down with him, it changed. So if you want to tell a little bit about that story, if you want to, we don't want to get doxxed.
Yeah, I can say about that. I'll say one thing right now about Bill Maher. I'm glad you mentioned him. He's actually one of my. I love his show. I love him.
He's funny
because he's fair. Well, because he's fair.
Yeah.
He'll let you get on there, and if you crucify yourself, it's because you did it to yourself. And he's extremely fair. And in my coverage as a reporter, I have friends on both sides of the aisle. I'm very well connected with, people who are in the LGBTQ plus community in Crawfordsville. They trust me. They're good friends, but I also have good friends who are conservative as well, because they know that if they ask, hey, could you come and do this interview? I'll do it because I want to be fair. We are not, as reporter, I think a good reporter is a good servant. We are entrusted with people's stories. And the biggest duty we have is to get it right and to be prudent, but not to sensationalize, and certainly not to make people into ideological effigies. I have no time for that whatsoever. But you mentioned the story about Micah Beckwith. I'll say one thing right now. I don't always agree with him. In fact, I don't agree with a lot of the things that he has said. We'll just say that and get that out there right now. Please do not ask me to enumerate over that. We don't have a second hour. But that being said,
you can come back anytime, man. This is great. We
Brad
can do
loves
it.
it already.
Yeah, this is great.
no,
I feel the same way about Micah.
I took a photo of him. Which was not very flattering. And I remember, not only did I send it to my editor, but which then it became even more viral at the time. But I posted the photo on my social media, and I got a call 3 hours later from a friend of mine, who's another reporter in Crawfordsville. Hey, did you take that photo? I'm like, but yeah, why? Because you should know that photo's gone big. Like, I think I checked it out after 5 hours. It had like 25,000 upticks on Reddit, and they were making memes out of it. So it was a good picture. It is not one of the best photos I've ever taken, though. Well, a few weeks later, I had made a snide comment about that to my editor, Tim Timmons. He does Sagamore Press, which also owns the Noblesville Times. So I'm featured in both papers. But Tim's like, I hope you give him a chance. Like, okay. Well, a few weeks later, at the State of the State address, Lieutenant Governor comes towards me. I took a photo of the moment that he started to walk to me. And I'm thinking, I'm dead. Like I'm this time toast right now. But he says, "Do I know you?" And I said, "No, you know my editor though." And I can describe the reaction when I mentioned Tim's name to Micah. He just said, "It was like I walked into a dark room and flipped on the light, and suddenly the trust barrier was broken." And something to find out, very interestingly enough, we talked a little bit about just life in general, and he said, what is it like having to drive that distance? And I said, occasionally I'll go over and see my mom afterwards. My mom is in a nursing home in Franklin right now. She is unfortunately fighting a battle with Alzheimer's disease. It's ugly. And so, we just exchanged pleasantries, went on our way. A few weeks later, I ran into him again because I was actually out front of the Senate, because normally I hang out there and just watch the protesters, and occasionally I'll get a good shot. Well, he comes by, we start talking, and I actually confronted him about something. I said, you were right. In one of your sermons, you used a word in Greek, but the definition you used applied to a different word. And he's like, really? So goes into his office, brings out Strong's Concordance. He says, oh, you're right. That was the wrong word. Yep. I told him later that I had studied Greek and Latin when I was wanting to go to seminary. But that was another good icebreaker. And he that's when he handed me his card and he said, we'll sign up for an interview sometime. I thanked him, and then I went about my business. That evening, I went over to my mom's place. And I was so excited because, this is the first feature interview. I don't get interviews like this. And I said, oh, Mom, I got this invite to do this interview. And she looked at me with a blank look on her face and she said, have you told my son? He works in the Senate. It was the very first time that she didn't recognize me. So I was just crushed. I went to my dad's grave and wept for about a good 20 minutes, called my wife, and was just absolutely a mess. A few days later, I was, in the Senate just reading a book, and comes up behind me, slaps me on the shoulder. Hey, how you doing, Andy? And I said, I'm okay. I'm doing fine. And he said, how's your mom? My wife and I prayed for her. I said, oh, I'm so glad that you guys did, and explained to him what had happened. And, he said, we'll continue to keep praying. And, anytime that I've run into him, and I now it's like, anytime he sees me, it's like, hey, Andy, how you doing? No, hey, Lieutenant Governor, how are you doing? He'll be like, hey, how's your mom doing, man? So I think that really kind of broke the ice. I'll say that he's a friendly acquaintance, but that once again goes back to show that, he demonstrated that if he's wrong, with the Greek reference, if he's wrong, he can be corrected, but you better show up with a lot of ammo. And I think there's just the whole interaction was unique. So, I'm interviewing him on Thursday. I'm actually, I'll tell you what, spoiler alert, about 90% of it's going to be on the faith-based initiative that I think it was Executive Order EO 2-26 that was signed 2 days prior to the end of the session. And
is he getting another $3 million for it too? Or
I don't know. I haven't. That would be interesting.
He asked that in the budget hearings, and I can't. I don't think he got it then. But this is an executive order, so I don't know if it's different.
I don't know. And one of the questions I am asking is basically, what kind of legislative action has just are you seeking cover behind to pursue this? So that may end up coming out in the middle of the conversation somewhere. But that is going on Thursday. I will be more than happy for that guy to not be living in my head for, in 2 days' time.
It's not your fault.
So
Andy.
is your mom down at Greenwood Village? Is she down at Greenwood Village? Or is
it's called Morning Star Point out of Franklin. They have an amazing staff there. And I know which one you're referring to. This is actually the one off of. This is the one in Franklin, off of.
It's Alzheimer's is one of those. I had an aunt the first time she thought I looked a lot like my dad. So when she called me her brother, that's I've not to the extent of my mom doing it, but it is sort of one of those things. It's like, it's tough.
I can't be too. I can say woe is me, and it's hard because we lost Dad 7 years ago, and I think it's more difficult, especially when I was already an orphan. That's how I got adopted in the first place. To almost find that you're losing a second pair of parents, it can be really hard. But my wife is very supportive. She is a lot more emotionally intelligent than I will ever dream of being. So she knows how to handle those questions like, how you doing, buddy? You want to talk? Want to go for a walk right now? Want to have that talk? So I would not. That's even if all this wasn't here and I was still living in Park County, where I live, and we decided to move here because that was where her stability was. Sometimes I miss Indianapolis, but you know what? It was worth it. It's worth it.
Yeah. So I just, this has been great. And like I said, I'm glad we could get you on the show before you come like super famous and one of these news stations sweeps you up and you just think, oh, I remember when I was on the Mouthwash. So, we've had some people come through here, that have actually gone on to do things. I'm the only one that gets held back, by the way.
There's a reason why I also like to not live. I'm technically, this is almost a second home for me. This is actually this interview on my end is coming from the birthplace of Ernie Pyle. The room that he was born in is literally underneath my office, is literally on the first floor. I'm on the second floor right now.
We were talking about Andy Rooney and eyebrows and things, and you said there's a couple things that he signed in your archives there. So maybe if I get as famous as Andy Rooney, I'll come over and sign some stuff for you. And
I have no objection to that whatsoever. I really don't. That'd be a lot of fun. I mean, by all means, come on over. But I will say, you'd mentioned, before I become famous, that's why I like being here, because at the end of the day, when I'm here, I go to the diner across the street. There's this tiny little mom, and I call it a SHIT diner because basically people just go over there and just talk bleep the entire time.
Yeah, that's Indiana.
I know I'm being live, but I'm just Andy. They hear my voice like, "Is this Andy?" I'm like, "Yeah, your dinner will be ready in 10 minutes."
Definitely.
Like, they're not like, "Wow, this guy did all this press stuff." It's just Andy, and I love just being me at the end of the day, and it keeps me humble.
Yep. So I put a lot of links in there, and Andy, feel free to go back and put pictures or whatever, and check out Andy's work. Lucy, I'd hate to break this to you, but we don't have time for a conspiracy tonight, and I got a feeling that Andy would.
I had one tailored for Andy because he's an archivist.
I even had my hat,
all right.
man.
Well, hold on. Tiffany's going, this is how I lose my election with the conspiracy theory. Oh, dear.
Hey, y'all, it's time for the conspiracy theory, so you better get your tinfoil hat out, and let's see what's going on this week.
Hard to believe that's 5 years old. I still got the teeth somewhere in here. Oh, Andy, you might not have ever seen that.
You start that thing forward, and no one's going to be having to worry about voting for your eyebrows.
Yeah, that's right. Look at this.
I really think you should wax those. Like, I mean use like shaping wax to like.
Oh, definitely.
Tight curls and stuff. I don't know, maybe like a perm.
Well, so Lisa, I think so. How are you guys going to vote? Trim or no trim, Brad? Eyebrows.
Oh, no trim.
How about you, Lucy?
Yeah.
Well, I'm the wife that makes my husband get down. I've got the little tiny scissors and the little tiny comb, and I get him because my hairdresser called him.
Yes or no? All I want is a yes or no.
No. Get the wax. Get the wax.
Okay,
don't trim
Tiffany, what do you think? You are sort of our fashion compass here, and I've been moisturized.
Tiffany's ashamed by this whole show right now.
Yeah, she's less than impressed. You're muted.
So all I can say, John, is it looks like you got a haircut. Did you get a haircut?
No, I haven't had a haircut in 3 months. So really? This is my hair. It doesn't really. It just wears. It just gets so thin it just disappears. It's getting tough.
Your hair is not. Let's see. Your hair is so compact that your eyebrows are really. If it were positive, the kids would say your eyebrows are popping.
My grandkids put clips.
They're
on
on fleek.
Put hair clips.
Yeah, they're on Fleek Street. But if you're not going to get a haircut, then you should definitely let the eyebrows grow.
Oh, Lisa's the only one that wants me to trim them. Well, Andy, what do you think?
Because if you're going to be a mess, be a whole mess.
Yeah, that's right.
I
am better. Anything. I am better as a mess. Hey, put your hat back on.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I wanted to. Sorry.
But if I had to look at you every day, and if you were my husband, I would cut your eyebrows in your sleep.
Bring your wife on. Let her be the tiebreaker.
She already voted.
Oh, she already voted. She voted. Says
her vote's the only one that counts.
Well, I know. Like, I don't even know why we get votes. Like, it doesn't.
Well, let's see how long I can hold out. I'm gonna have to probably do a lot of stuff around the house.
Andy Rooney had him going up like this.
Oh yeah, I got some work to do to get to his statue.
I mean,
I can actually do his voice.
Oh yeah.
I can actually complain like him. I'll tell you, I'm really tired of the government. So working on it, I'm going to watch some Andy Rooney videos and get it nailed down. So
and just so everybody knows, like today is March 10th. So when you write out March 10th, like March 10, that's why it's Mario Day.
Oh, okay. Good, Brad. We had a go a long ways to get that
May
joke.
the
you
fourth
No, I
raised.
know, right?
But I got to give you this.
Now you guys know why I'm so excited. Only have one here, I think.
Wow. So is that like that bit of information, does that come from like the masters in library science, or is that an
Oh, I don't have one of those. I'm not that. Yeah, that's I'm not that upper echelon.
Don't you just love our sound effects? Okay, so
I love
Lucy,
that.
you have
Okay.
we're running over here, which is I think it's fine, but
I'm fine with that.
So
yeah,
very quickly, I think that Andy will be super intrigued if he doesn't already know about this. Andy, have you studied the works of Guy Anderson, who talks about Tartaria and the mud flood? And
No.
Okay, so you're definitely going to want to go to Amazon. If you've got Kindle Unlimited, you can even read it for free, but it's not expensive. You're going to want to get Tesla and the Cabbage Patch Kids, which is the fall of Tartaria. And then he also has, and he also calls it the reset of 1776. So he's got some super interesting theories. We all grew up with the Cabbage Patch Kids, at least I did in the 80s. And turns out that Cabbage Patch may actually be a euphemism for cloning, and that this may have existed before, or at least it is a euphemism for taking orphans, which you mentioned that's part of your history, and then shipping them across in trains and basically selling them. So these became babies that were advertised on postcards, for example, and that you'll love this if you don't already know it, because it's archival history. These French postcards advertising, shoo babies, cabbage patch babies.
Dude,
So
the past
his other
is so
book,
weird.
well, it's super interesting.
Yeah,
super
like
interesting.
the past
So
is just
definitely.
I don't.
it's so strange we probably believe it. It's another conspiracy fact from Lucy.
Yeah, but
So
I mean,
his second book.
How many times have we had conspiracy theories and like, actually they were right?
We're
way
occasionally occasionally it happens. I mean, a broken clock does actually tell time correctly twice a day.
Real conspiracy theorists like me know that the CIA coined that term to deflect from JFK's assassination.
And like it was
the CIA didn't have anything to do with that, Lucy. Come on.
No.
Lee Harvey Oswald.
Yeah.
Right. Just
I went to the
gunman.
Texas. Yeah, just one long. Like that's what
I've
they
been
said.
there too.
I can't have a dilly bar from Dairy Queen anymore and not think of Dilly Square.
My hobby is I like to actually visit famous people's graves. So I've been to Sarah Hughes's grave, who was the judge that swore him in. I'm going back and getting it right this time. My wife is actually kicking me out of the house for the week while she spends time with her BFF from across the country. So she's just given me permission to gallivant across the country. And I'm heading down to, there was one grave I didn't get. I got JD Tippett's grave, everybody, Laveau's grave, everybody. I forgot of the one person that I forgot, Abraham Zapruder.
Oh, that's so cool! Yeah.
Yes.
So I've got to go back there and get that right.
Make sure you have film in your camera when you get that one. That was sort of. I think Brad got that joke. So Andy, do you have a conspiracy fact or conspiracy theory that you'd like to share?
I don't.
You don't have to.
That's a good answer for a historian. I like that.
Put it this way. I will say that. I can say this because I can tell you So my wife and I decided we were going to honeymoon when we got married in 2021 in Washington, D.C. The first week of January.
Oh.
Yeah. So I had always suspected that there had been, and no, just so you know, I didn't breach. We didn't breach a Capitol, nothing. We just kind of went back to my hotel. I was like, okay. But what had happened, one thing I will say is I'd always wondered if there had been people that were just deliberately going there to stir the pot. Come to find out that the FBI was there that day.
Ooh,
so
Brad doesn't believe that.
Do you have pictures from that day? And are they on your website?
No, I don't actually, because oddly enough, I just didn't feel the need to. And I wasn't taking pictures like I was back then. Understand, I've only been taking photos for 3 years, man.
Wow, your stuff is really
awesome,
good. Yeah. And at some point, you took a picture of me up there speaking, and
I took a lot of pictures of you.
Yeah, send me
so damn tall.
Because my hard drive, my external hard drive with like 3 terabytes of our shows and pictures, it crashed when I was in Florida. Thank you very little. I got a new one coming. So if you could send me back some pictures, that'd be great.
The one where Gaskell's in the background. I blurred that out deliberately, and then it was the one of you in the foreground speaking on a side profile, and Gaskell was in the background. But you still knew who it was, even though I had kind of blurred him out a little bit.
No, I didn't have a problem with Gaskell. In fact, he gave me an interview.
Gaskell's my senator
off the cup. Yeah, I know, and he's a good guy. He just, he's he's probably not your brand of politician, Brad. So,
another
he's a nice guy though.
That turned out true. I had always suspected that somebody else was pulling the strings on the whole redistricting thing. As we all learned when we were in there, nobody seemed to know, and nobody still knows anything about this National Republican Redistricting Trust. So I will say that I had always suspected, but I mean, that's as close to a conspiracy theory as I get. I generally, my opinion of conspiracy theories is simply this, that we don't need to, we oftentimes think that like some great event or occurrence in history has to be tied to an equally great cause, when sometimes it's just dumb luck. I mean, who would have thought that the fall of Constantinople is because some idiot forgot to close the gate, or that or that basically we learned what a chimichanga was because somebody accidentally bumped a burrito into a fryer.
So thank God for that accident too.
Yeah, sometimes it's just dumb luck that these things happen. So I generally, that's probably about as close to conspiracy theory as I get. I don't really dabble too much in that. But I will.
So you're telling me, Andy, you're telling me that nachos happened because somebody broke the chips? Somebody broke the taco shells and still wanted to eat?
I'm willing to believe that.
Wow, Tiffany, you had a conspiracy theory.
They went for that. Really good? But I do have Guy Anderson written down, so I'll be more than happy to check that out.
All right, that's cool. Brad, you got a conspiracy? Are the White Sox eliminated already from the playoffs?
No, and the dude from the White Sox that's playing on Japan is just killing it.
Okay, great. Well, he'll probably get injured, and the White Sox will be last again. So,
I wouldn't be surprised, but you don't have to come at me with that kind of low energy. Damn it, man! Trying to enjoy this the baseball off season before I have to be a White Sox fan.
Why are you ruining his Mario day?
That's right.
Yeah, but he's got papal intervention now, so that could be its own conspiracy theory if they actually do well. That the Pope was behind it all.
Oh, I totally believe that. Like that. I mean, they didn't get the worst record in Major League Baseball last year, like they did the year before. So baby steps,
Well, I mean, if IU can win the national championship, anything is possible. Anything is possible. All right, Andy, you've been a great guest, and as usual, panel, thank you for coming in. I know that your Tuesday nights got a lot of other things you could be doing. I appreciate you coming in and playing Mouthwash here. And,
thank you so much for having me. But by the way, John, so this is actually the very first time I've actually done an interview.
I know. I tried to get you before, and I had to twist some arms, but I can be persuasive.
I was interviewed for a quote that lasted like 5 seconds 2 years ago at the museum, but this is the first time I've actually ever gone over half an hour.
Well, you did it with ease and grace, and I think we did a panel. You did a great job not stepping on each other. And what's in fairness, it's very difficult because we're all in different places. Tiffany's in Fishers, Lucy's down in Liberty, Brad's in Anderson. You're over on the west side, and I'm in Mars Hill. So it's a little difficult sometimes with the feed and all that. But I did a good job tonight, everybody. Good job. So Andy, stick around for a minute after we go off air here, and we want to have a close up, and we'll see you next week. Hey, Lucy, it's your candidate. Yeah, you're so coming back. You are so coming back on this show. It's like you don't even try to say that you're not gonna. Lucy, next week your candidate for that's running against Shreve's coming on, maybe, right?
Well, we do need to verify that with her. But yes,
she just friended me on Facebook, so I'll try to, but try to get us connected on that?
She
Because I'd
has
like to have her.
15 kids.
She got 15 kids. What
She
is it?
adopted 5. Yeah, she
Now,
adopted
is
5.
she is she a libertarian or is she just?
No, she's very conservative. She's a very conservative Republican, Sarah Janice Brown. And I first met her, oh gosh, it's probably been 15 years ago when she was like vice chair of, I think it was the McCordsville town board or something. This is a woman who's an incredible artist. She has lived her faith. I really, really admire her for her ability to have brought her children along in Christianity and that they're all living their lives out loud for Jesus.
Yeah, and they're already calling her crazy. They're already calling her crazy, so I know that she's hitting the nerve. So and then we have
out to Mayor Ballard.
We got that's a whole different subject, Tiffany. That's a whole different subject. So we're going to have a sheriff candidate in Newcastle come on on the March 24th. So we're getting people lined up.
Who?
Is
this the guy that's been arguing with Bilbrey?
I don't know if it is or not. Let me see here.
Oh, I so hope so.
Randy Howard. How about that? Randy Howard is going to come on, and I think it'll be a fun show. But there's actually 6 people running for sheriff out there, and the current sheriff that's there has had all sorts of troubles, like affairs and kids out of wedlock and divorce. And yeah, I know, Lucy. Like, oh, do tell. There's probably a romance novel out there already made about the guy. So,
Andy, it was a pleasure. I have to go pee.
Yeah, he'll be on the backside. So that's a good time to quit. So Andy, stick on after everybody else.
Turn off your mic when you go to the bathroom, dude.
Yeah, he's a pro at it. Usually he just like ghosts us or Irish bathrooms and all that. So everybody, hey, thanks for watching. We'll see you next week, same time, 9:00 p.m. on the Mouthwash Talk Show, a minty fresh take on life.